Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it.
I'm going to share, if I can, I'm going to share something I think you'll find interesting, and it's approach that I used in my system of coaching my programs that I've worked with. And I've recently talked with a friend of mine who's an NBA strength coach, and he said, Lee, we're getting 19-year-olds that are having the same issues as guys that are typically in the NBA they get when they're 29, 30, 31. They're getting them when they're 19, 20 because their AAU season is sometimes 3 times as long as their normal season, and then it's year round. So their bodies are getting so beat up that they make it through high school, they get into college, and you start to see these Achilles and these hip structure issues just because of the amount of density that's put into a day. So this is the system that anytime I've taken over a program, I've put in, and it always took some convincing, but I think when parents and athletes listened to the rationale, they understood it. So number one, we're going to improve skill. Got to dribble better, got to shoot better, got to finish at the rim, that's the number one. So we have a program for skill development. Number two, tactical understanding. You need to be able to understand how to make a pocket pass. You need to know how to throw a fade, how to come off a ball screen, or a dribble handoff, a pistol action, or, we're going to have some tactical understanding. We're going to raise the bar on that. So now players, when a play breaks down, they can play. They can still do stuff. So tactical elevation goes up. So we have a segment of our off-season training that really hits that. The third one is athletic development. We have to become better athletes. So those 3 things we implement into our off-season training. And then what I would do is, rather than having my kids do a lot of travel basketball, but I told them, if you want to do that, that's between you and your mom and dad. Go do it. But let me explain, if your goal is to be a better player, I have a better solution, a much cheaper one, less time consuming. But here's what we're going to do. So what I would do is, when the state allowed you to do it, rather than playing travel, what I would do is I'd call local either travel teams up or other schools and say, hey, come on over and scrimmage with us. No officials, we'll do it. Or I'll have some other older guys come in and do it. You get the ball 10 times, half court, run your offense. We're going to defend you. If there's a mistake, stop us. We'll set back up, correct your team right there on the spot. We would treat it like a football, scrimmage where you get 10 offensive plays. We would do that. Then we would say, okay, let's go out of bounds at 3/4 court. And then we would put in full court. Then we would do all right, 30 seconds, we're down 3, you got the ball, go. And we'd do like an hour and a half. The kids loved it. I'd let parents come and watch. They'd hear the coaching, see the stuff. And so I would hit multiple teams like that. Didn't cost any money. The kids got to play competitive against other schools. The coaches got a chance to teach, and actually in an environment where it's not their own players who cheat on defense all the time because they know the play, right?
That's right.
So every time I started up a new program, that was the system I put up. And then the parents finally said, now I see why you didn't want us to do AAU. And I said, it wasn't that I didn't want you to do AAU. Your goal and my goal is the same. You're just being told that the only way you can do it is to spend $1,500 and travel across the country and play AAU. The last point I want to make is, I did a research study one time. I followed a player for a weekend tournament, and I did it a couple weekends in a row. This one player played, most of the game, wasn't a point guard, played most of the game, touched the ball an average of 42 to 47 seconds per game. So I brought this to my families and my parents, and I said, your child can touch the ball 42 to 47 seconds. I found that's pretty much the average of most players when they're in a game. I said, there is still more they're learning in the game, but I said, their skill level is so low. What are they gaining going to an AAU tournament where, like, this high-powered AAU team is pressing you from the opening bell and you're getting beat by 60? Or your child can come in the gym with us and have the ball in their hand for 60 to 90 minutes and get really good. And then they kind of look at me like, Does that make sense? And I'm like, think about it. At the end of the day, they have to get better. That's all I'm trying to do. If AAU is the best solution for your child to get recognition, let's do it. But if not, most of you aren't good enough for AAU to be that impactful for you. And it's not that I'm against AAU. It's just that it's changed parents' mindset to thinking, oh my gosh, if I don't do AAU, my kid will never make it. I'm like, relax. That's not how it works, especially when they're 6th, 7th grade, give them a chance to develop. So anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Coach, that's super impactful. And I personally think you're right on the money. I love the breakdown of what the year looks like and the different phases of the game that you're going to work on with your kids. But that approach to select basketball, we talk so much with the kid, or we see in kids today with social media, it's the fear of being left out.
Yeah,
like that's a real fear. But the parents get that too.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, I have you mentioned you have a 14-year-old. Mine's 15. He's at Fate. And with my wife, we were like a year ago, we said, we are falling into this. If he doesn't get on a team right now, I mean, and this snowball of basically the next 10 years of his life. I'm like, hold on. What is he doing daily to help? And then at PGC, we have one of my favorite talks when I was directing with them was getting seen versus getting good. And there was a breakdown, just like you said, of weekend tournament, how much actually ball in your hand. And that whole idea of these kids we're trying to get exposure as a freshman and sophomore, but instead just getting exposed to how behind we are in the game. So you and I, and I would say a lot of high school coaches are very like-minded, but the parents and players that do happen to hear this, that was really important.
Well, I appreciate it. And the other thing is to remember is that if we were to just take a snapshot of an AAU tournament or a free scrimmage at your gym, it's the same thing. It's still dribbling with my right, dribbling with my left, doing this, doing it. It's running a play. It's the same thing. It's just we prioritize the travel team because the potential of a college coach watching you. And you and I both know, I've been involved with this a long time. Most of the coaches that are watching you play are the smaller Division III or junior college or whatever, because the big guys, they already know who they're going to go watch. They've been following that player for 4 years.
They don't guess. They don't guess.
Exactly. They know where they're going to be. They're going to go. And my thing is both my daughters got scholarships to play college basketball, and neither one of them were on AAU teams. What they did, and this is what I found out, and this is what I tell my parents to do now. I have a girl right now that I'm working with, and I told her dad to do it. What I did is I told the local teams, look, if a couple of your girls get sick or can't go to a tournament and you need a fill-in, my daughters would be more glad to play. So they probably played multiple times, didn't have to pay because the coaches were just glad to get them in. They played in a local tournament and got their fill of competition. But the rest of the time, they're in the gym with me and other kids lifting weights, getting faster, working on their left-hand finishes. But in an AAU game, a kid who doesn't have a left hand isn't going to work on their left hand during the game.
It's not a laboratory there where you experiment. Right. You're right.
That's right. Yep. So anyway, that's just my take on it. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but my thing is I want to maximize potential and improvement in the player. Exposure will come. If you're good, you're good. The college is going to find you if you're a good player.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.